Hello, everyone. Welcome to Visionary Live number 5. Oh my goodness. This has been an incredible, beautiful day of so many women's stories. And it's just like, it's been so incredible to hear the stories and to hear the alchemy and the resiliency and like everything that these women have been through, and we only scratch the surface. Like, who knows the full story of it. So I'm so excited to bring on our final, last but definitely not least speaker, Christine. Christine is an architect of spiritual AI and the Divine Mirror. I think the Divine Mirror is a method, and she's all about mastering God frequency and activating wealth, impact, and divine remembrance. That is like, so good. So I'm so excited to bring on Christine. I'll shoot her a message right now and let her know I'm live so she can pop on. It always takes a little bit. She is here. Perfect. And she is going to be telling us her story about being a resilient visionary and what that meant to her. So let's bring her on and have her introduce herself.
Hello.
Hello! I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I am
Yeah.
so excited to be here. I cannot wait for this conversation. Can't
I
wait.
know. Me too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I knew I had to reach out because every time I see your content in my feed or I saw a post, I was like, all right, well, that disrupted my feed. That is something I needed to read today. That is powerful. It's like, whew, it's huge. It's like a massive, like, when you talk about like moving people, it's a big activator every time I see you on my feed, and I've seen you in the Freedom Queen world, and I was like, okay, let's get Christine on. So I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, I'm excited to be here. We're gonna have a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's
I'm
go. Okay,
ready.
so I did a little introduction, but I want you to introduce yourself too. So tell
Okay.
everyone who you are and what you have built.
All right. I am Christine Michelle. I am the CEO and founder of The Aligned Soul by Anna Hab, personal development brand. But I like to say it's a spiritual revolution. I am the founder of Spiritual AI, which we'll talk about a little bit here. And I also I'm a best-selling author of The Aligned Receiver. So grab that book. Yeah, it's amazing. It talks about the universe. It's your sugar daddy. All the things. So
I love that.
I was a former corporate executive. I worked for the Coca-Cola Company. I worked for Victoria's Secret in New York City. And that while that was amazing and it was an amazing part of my life and I was extremely successful there, I always knew that I was destined to be an entrepreneur. And I always utilized my spirituality and the tools ever since I was a very young girl to help other people. And so it's been such an honor for this to be my mission and my vision, right? To have people tap into their divinity, know that they are God frequency. Like there's nothing that can limit you. And when I think about me, especially being a brown woman in this, melanated woman in this world, um, to be evidence that you are unstoppable is my greatest joy, and to be a reflection to everyone, especially women. That's who I work with, women, and to show them that there's no limits to what's possible, and the power that you get to walk in is just my greatest joy.
Yeah, no, that is so incredibly beautiful. And I'm sure like your story is going to give so much more context to that of how this all began. So let's jump right into it. So tell us about a time where you had to be a resilient visionary, a dark season or moment in your personal or business life that was pivotal to your where you are today.
Okay, there are so many moments
I
and
bet.
things
Yeah.
that that I can think of. So I thought of two. And so I'm going to bring one up, which happened recently, because I
Okay.
think that you'll experience, you'll tap into this experience. And then I'll talk about one that's just overarching that I talk about all the time, but I
Sure.
thought I should bring something new
Yeah.
too today.
Sure.
So my voice has started to shift into like really big power. And I decided like right now my audience like if cross, you know, all of the platforms, right? Instagram and my email list and all of those things, it's probably like around 50,000, right? But there's no limit to the amount of number of people that I touch. And I decided that I get to be seen, I get to be seen, I get to be seen. And so we just participated in this beautiful experience with Bridget, and that was called I Made It May. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go even bigger. I'm going to claim the 6 figure month. I'm going to really go out there, be the woman, talk about spiritual AI, which is quite controversial because you're, you know, merging spirituality with AI. And what I created was called the Divine Mirror. And so the Divine Mirror is an experience that utilizes my frameworks, my it measures your frequency based on your words and what you're saying. And
Mm.
it can you put in your information, you ask a question, and it's like, okay, this is where your frequency is, and this is where you want it to be in order to
Wow.
align with what you desire, right? So it's an amazing thing, and it's a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to really go big on that and show up in that space with that. And so there was a person who was a part of that space who just totally did not believe in AI, which is fine. And they kept saying AI is of the devil or AI is bad and AI has ruined so many civilizations and you trying to ruin the world. And I stood in my power, especially with this person not being melanated, was triggered by that because I know what I'm here to do and I know why I'm here to do this. And so I listened to what she had to say and I reflected back her power.
Mm-hmm.
I also said, you know, I'm not um trying to change your world, trying to change your mind on this because I'm not here to convince. I
Yep.
said, what you're saying is like you're only seeing one side of the equation. And I said, what if I was from civilizations that both were destroyed by people utilizing AI, and then also civilizations that thrived utilizing AI? I said,
Mm-hmm.
because what you're saying is that there's only one situation and you're not seeing both sides. She didn't like that. So then she said, the only reason why you're using AI is because you want power. And my response was, I don't want power. I am power.
Mm.
Sent her over the edge. So sent her over the edge. I became parasitic, egomaniacal, like all the things. And in that moment, it still bounced off of me. In the middle of my mom just had a stroke. We were driving to New Orleans. I'm in the middle of this. I'm showing up big as I could. And I decided that it doesn't matter. Like I am not going to stop representing myself and being in my power just because it makes someone else uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I tell this story, and the reason why this story was the one that I wanted to share first was because there are so many times in my life that I might have backed down or might have said, okay, let me soften the message. Let me shift who I am. Let me shift what I'm saying so that this person is more comfortable. And it was over the, you know, last few months, I've been like, no, I am unshakable with where I'm coming from. And so I want everyone that's listening to this to say, where have I been shakable, right? Where have I allowed my story or some of the things that I'm bringing, or you know, like where have I tried to become relatable or make sure everyone likes me and likes my message instead of just saying it how it is, just saying it the way you really want to say it, and just holding your power even in a situation where someone's really attacking your character and attacking who you are and attacking like what you've created. Can you stand there?
Yeah.
And this situation really showed me that I can, and I did.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. And that is so huge because it's like it's that thing where it's like you make this big commitment and you're like, "Hey, I made it May. I'm gonna go all in on this thing." And then it's like, boom. That's exactly what Courtney was talking about earlier this week. She was like, "What happens to me is like a little portal. I just get punched in the face a million times and I'm like, "Okay." And now she's gotten so used to it. But it's like through those challenges that you learn that and you experience that. I would love to go a little bit deeper here too, of like, our initial thoughts, our reaction as humans, we open up the phone, we see the response is those words popping up, the tone. We can honestly, I feel like, I swear, we don't even read it and we feel the tone right away. So how did you shift maybe that initial reaction you would have, or maybe those feelings of like that came up, like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, like, how did you shift that, or what did you do? Did you try and force shifting it? How did it come about? How did you craft a response every time?
Oh, I love it. I love this question because it's so good. And both of you and I are both frequency geniuses, right? So we can feel the answer, or we can feel what's underneath it before you even read it. And so what was so powerful, I have this process, it's called the Aligned Soul Alchemy process, and it's a whole 5-step process. And there's a rapid Aligned Soul Alchemy, and I've been doing it for, 20 years. So now I can like really shift things really fast. What was really beautiful about this situation is that there was nothing to hit. Like, I read her response and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And the response back to her came from such love, also power, because I wasn't trying to prove anything, and I wasn't like rolling my eyes or like, "Can you believe that? Can you believe she said this?" It was more like it was like if somebody called me and told me you're ugly because your hair is blue. It was like, because it wasn't true. There was nothing like to hit. And so what you get to do, of course, I've had situations where I've lost over 100 pounds, right, in the last 2 years. And I've had situations where people call me fat or ugly, and they said I was the sole reason why people were unhealthy. Like, there was just so so many things. But at times when I didn't love myself, that hurt so badly. So I would go to my tools, I would go to shift the frequency, go to shift the energy before I respond, right? Because I need to be in my wholeness. So when someone attacked me and told me that I was unhealthy and I was going to die, and I'm the reason why other people were dying and people were so fat, just because I chose to like be on camera at a 200 and whatever pounds, I felt hurt, but I just was like, "Oh, okay, what do I get to learn out of this, or what message is here for me?" Because I know that they're probably in their mom's basement and hating themselves. So it has nothing to do with with me. It has more to do with them. And so
Yeah.
then once I do the shifting, then I'm able to come back, and the responses in that situation with the weight situation, but also in the situation of this, is such wisdom, because it's more like I don't have to prove anything to you, and I'm not trying to convince you. I want you to see you're heard. I see your, I mean, I hear your point. You
Mm-hmm.
have your experience, I have mine, and this is my response to it. And then you can do it with such love. And that's what's important, is that I always make sure that I'm coming from a loving space, but also that I'm neutral, so that it's no, like, the emotions aren't tweaking the way I'm speaking.
Yeah, that's huge. There's nothing to hit. That's so massive. That one line is like, because that's our initial reaction. That will, and people think it's such a, people don't realize what power they have. Is like, you actually have the power to see exactly what triggers you, and you can see where it's coming from and go deeper and all the things, if you let yourself. Those initial reactions, those thoughts that come up in difficult situations, or a difficult comment or something that challenges you, that tells you everything you need to know. And that was the point probably anyway. So yeah, I love that so much. And obviously it's not shifting that you do now, but it's like years of self-love work and coming back to who you are and
Yes,
all the things.
yes. Many, many years. As of the time of this recording, I'm 49. So it's like, yeah.
Where from what angle? Oh my God, wow.
I get it from my mama and my daddy. Both of them look really, really good.
I love that.
But I was just having this conversation with my sister. We were talking about how when people say something, and it used to trigger me, or used to hurt me, or it used to have some kind of effect on me, And it doesn't anymore because I can see things through such love. And I know most people's stuff is their stuff, right? Their shit is their shit. It's not mine. I just was talking to my community about this, but I said, how often are you clearing and shifting and processing stuff that isn't even yours? Like, unless it hits, like you said, if it doesn't hit on anything, it's not even mine at all. There's no mirror, there's nothing for me to clear, there's no trigger there, so there's nothing for me to do except for say, oh, that's interesting, and wish them luck and send love to their area because they've got some things they get to shift and clear. And so how often are you shifting and clearing and doing all this work that's not even yours, and it's not, you didn't come in and incarnate to even heal that, right? Focus on what is coming up for you, and that's where you'll be able to go deeper and actually bring codes into this universe and into this civilization that need to be anchored, because those were the codes you were here to bring, instead of other stuff that you're clearing that's not even yours.
Yeah. Literally, yeah. That's such a big thing that so many people will do is like, oh, why is she triggered? Oh, she's probably triggered because of this, and you think that you're this incredible person who can recognize why people do it a certain way, and it's like, use that on yourself. I love
Yes. You're like,
that.
use that on yourself.
Do it for you, use it on yourself. Yeah, so yeah, no, that's so huge. And I would love to hear and pivot into this bigger story of your journey that you wanted to talk on.
So the next part, when I think about, like you were talking about some different journeys or things that you've like pivoted through or experienced, one of the biggest things that when I came into this, I guess industry, it was a long time ago, but when I came into this industry, it was always all about a bottom to a top story, right? And at the time I came in, my parents have been married since 1969. Like, they're happily married, they're in love. I grew up with siblings. My older sister and my younger brother were all best friends. Like, I always had really good relationships with my female friends. Like, I always, it was just, I lived a great life. Like, I decided I was going to be the first Black valedictorian of my school. I did it. I done, like, those type of things. My mom always told us, whatever we ask, believe, you receive it. That's how my life was. So I come into this industry and it was all about like your rock bottom. It was all about that. And I was like, oh, nobody's going to respect me because I actually live an amazing life, not realizing that that's what I incarnated to show people, that this is what's possible and this is what you get to have. And that I also know how to hold space for the lowest of the low and the highest of the high. And I can bring you, like, I'm a frequency shifter. You come into my world, you just, you just rise. But I thought that wasn't enough. And so because I thought it wasn't enough, guess who created a lot of drama? So much drama, so much unnecessary drama. Like, I thought, okay, I need a bottom to the top story. So I created a bankruptcy story. So I'm coming from multiple six-figure career, and per month, I mean, per year career. I get into this industry. Oh, I created like bankruptcy. I had client, like, I'm filing for bankruptcy. My client calls and tells me she just had $102,000 day. And like, I mean, my clients are like thriving, but I'm broke and I'm like, like, not understanding. I'm charging $900 a month for coaching with me. My clients are hitting millions of dollars. I'm just like, oh my God, I created so much drama. But I can look back and I said, oh my goodness, I created that story because I thought I needed to create some kind of bottom to the top story so people could think I was relatable. And so when I realized that, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm creating all of this drama in my life just so I can be relatable, or just so I can have a story that to make it marketable. I was like, I need to like stop and just, what am I brilliant at, right? And so it was just so many things that I just never thought it was enough. I didn't think frequency shifting was enough. So I was like, well, let me talk about all the multiple hundreds of millions of dollars that I've made all these companies, because people respect that more. I, decided that my happy life and showing people how to, rise to the frequency and shift through their frequencies and shift through the things that they're experiencing wasn't enough. So let me show this. So it was just time after time after time that I kept telling myself that who I was and what I've experienced and what I'm doing and all my intentions, or my channeling, my psychic abilities, all of those things were not enough, were not enough, were not enough, were not enough. And I had to like come back to a time. I mean, I had to come back to the awareness that I was enough. I was born enough. I That never changed. That I was always perfect, and everything that I'm experiencing was perfection, and that never changed. And so it took real, like, a lot of work to come back to shit. I'm the frequency, I'm the portal, I'm the power, like I told that woman. And so I think about, if that same thing would have happened all those years ago, I would have crumbled. I would have, like,
Mhm.
maybe decided, oh, I shouldn't be doing AI, or I shouldn't be doing this, because I would have let that person get into my head. I would have let, because that's the only way you let them in. I would have let that person get into my head, and I would have changed my direction.
Yeah.
And so I just, oh, both of those stories come together to show you that there is a time where you could not think that you're enough. You could think that all those things. But once you come back to that knowing that everything in your life happened in perfection, even when you create shit and even when you create bad things, it all happens. But when you decide that you were born enough, when you decide everything that I'm experiencing is exactly what I'm supposed to be experiencing, and it needs to, like, I don't have to change it in any kind of way, I just get to if I want to,
Mhm.
you own your power.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. And what were those breakthrough moments, or like what helped you come back to, oh, I don't need to create these stories for myself anymore. I am powerful enough. Like what was that kind of shift or that line that pushed you over back to the basics, back to who you always were?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I'll tell you a story. I During the time when I was filing for bankruptcy, oh, how many years ago? It's like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I would drive. I don't know if you guys remember Postmates. So I was driving like Uber, delivering Uber Eats, and then Postmates at the time.
Mhm.
But I was doing also Uber. And so I'm in at the time, I think I was living in Tampa, Florida, because I hadn't moved to St. Pete yet. And so I'm driving like Uber, and I went to pick up this girl. It's 222 on the time also. Anyway, so I went to pick up this airport ride, and so I'm in the frequency and I'm driving because I decided, I said, okay, I'm gonna drive Uber because that'll make up for like the money shortfall that my business wasn't taking care of. And I said, okay, this gets to be my ministry. This gets to be like, people get to come into my car. They get to feel their most amazing selves. They get to, I get to drive them, drop them off. I just made it like, okay, I'm going to like, and at the time I had written my book. And so I pick up this lady and I can feel like the energy coming off of, she was not happy, y'all. Ooh, child, she was not happy. Not happy at all. And so I was like, oh, but no judgment. I just took her bag, I put it into the trunk, came around, opened her door, and then I got in. Music was at the lowest of the low. I said no, not a single word to this woman, but I had no judgment for her. She's sitting in the back seat of the car, and then I'm driving her to the airport. So I'm just, listening to the music and driving to the, because that's how I do it. I'm just doing it like this because I drive to the airport, listening to the music, and I'm turning the corner, the curve to get into the Tampa airport. And she says, "Who are you and what do you do? Because this is not it." And I was like, "Huh, excuse me?" Yes. And she's like, I was so angry. She's like, I got into this car so angry. And she's like, and I sat in this car for a few minutes. You haven't said a word to me. I start crying. And she's like, I remember that I'm the one. I remember that I can do everything. And I was like, what? And she was like,
Wow.
right. So then she tells me, she says her boyfriend and her best friend, she found out that morning that they were cheating with,
Oh,
with each other.
yeah.
So, I mean, give her grace. She gets to be upset, right? And so she said, I was so sad. She's like, I thought my whole life was ending. And she's like, I just sat in this car. And she's like, and soon I just started to feel so much better. She's like, then I was like, F them. Like, don't worry about it. I'm going to be fine. She's like, I'm going to find the most amazing relationship. She's like, it's over. And she's like, and I know it was because I was sitting in your car. She's like, who are you? So I told her as who I was. I told her about my book. She's still in my community till this day. But she
Wow.
ended up going on her business trip. She ended up finding the love of her life. She ended up, being okay. And she said it was just from sitting in my frequency. All those people that say people don't pay to be in your industry, your frequency, they're lying, because
Mm.
it really makes a difference. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And she was like, she bought my book, and she was just like, I have to stay in touch with you. So at the time I had my free Facebook group. It's called the Line Soul Collective. I think I still have it open. And so I get out of the car, I turned off Uber from that, go home, and I just kept thinking, and I keep saying my frequency is enough. And I keep saying that I'm not enough. I was like, screw that. Like this was an evidence of who you are, your divinity, that you are God frequency, and people just being around you, they shift. And that's why you are special, and that's why you're here in this world. So I'm gonna, I was like, this is me telling myself, like, ship up, shape up, girl, because this wouldn't have been possible if you wouldn't be yourself. And if so imagine what gets to happen when you own that shit. And from that time on, I was like, I'm owning this because I changed this woman world without saying a single word.
Wow, that gave me chills. I have been getting chills on all of these lives. And I was like, as soon as you started that story, I was like, this is gonna be a good story. I love it. That is, wow, it's like something you just can't deny, right? It's like, if I don't have to say anything to change someone's life, imagine what I could do if I do say something. If I do add that structure to it. Wow, yeah, that is so beautiful and so incredible. Oh my God. Thank you for sharing that story. What's huge.
You're welcome. You never know the impact you're having on people.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many people that have come in and out of your world that I'm sure they keep saying, "Oh my God, that thing that she said," or "I just read that post, it changed my damn life." And so
Mm-hmm.
think of every person. Like I know people like to look at, metrics and all of that stuff, and none of that matters. But I always say, okay, if you want to look at metrics, you got 2 likes, multiply that times 30 or 40 or 50, because out of those 2 likes, there's probably 30 or 40 people behind them that just looked and read and were so impacted. And if you
Yeah.
continue to just say, I'm impacting the world and I'm impacting the people behind the people and the people behind those people and the people behind those people, you've already impacted hundreds of millions of people. And for you to say, oh, there's not enough people liking or there's not enough people watching, then you've wasted your time. You've focused on something that's not important because you forgot of the people behind the people and the people behind the people and the people in their life that they're going to impact just because that one word you said. So that woman who got in the car and she was no longer angry, she went to her office and she impacted everybody in her office because she had a smile on her face and her frequency changed. And then she found the love of her life and infected him and his family and his family, all because of me. And so what you have to remember is that that's important.
Yeah, and you can't, and you guys, you can't take that lightly. Like that, this is massive. These are things you may never see, or you may see 10 years down the road, but you can't take that lightly because that's what we were always meant to do, and that's literally that's why community is so big. That's why humans, we thrive off of being with other people and around other people, is because that's what we were meant to do in the first place, is that impact and that domino effect. So just because we're in this world of social media and this is how we share our messages and things, that doesn't mean, it's actually the opposite. You get to impact even more because now you have a bigger platform. You can reach the world. It's like, yeah, it's like, it's really point blank and simple. How dare you be upset that your video got 200 views or you're stuck in 200 view jail or whatever that be.
Exactly, exactly. Because, okay, where in the world, and I could be speaking from a 49-plus-year-old woman, but where in the world is 200 not enough? Where
Mm.
in the world would you stand in person in front of 200 people speaking to them and be mad because it hasn't broken out of a two? Like, that's just ridiculous. And it's because you're not seeing people, each soul behind that person, like within that person, and valuing each and every person. I'll tell you one more story. So I had this experience that it was called the Yes Indeed. Yes, it was the Yes Indeed Masterclass, or was the Yes Indeed bundle? Yes, Yes Indeed Masterclass. It was where I talked about big God frequency, big God energy, BGE. And I had like over 450 people register. And I was just on it. Oh my goodness. I just knew everybody was going to register for the thing I was selling. When I look back at it, I barely sold it, right? But I still thought everybody was going to buy. Everybody, right? One person bought, one person. I could have done a couple of things. I could have said, oh, well, there's only one person bought, and this was supposed to be some big, like, group thing. And I could just have given her money back, right? It was 29.97. And I decided no. I said, you know what? She bought, I picked up the phone, I called her, I said, congratulations. I was like, you're the only person that bought. I was like, this must have been for you. And I was like, so let's go. We're going to do the 3 months. We're going to do the quarterly thing. I'm going to teach you all the things. We're going to make this a one-to-one. I'm going to blow your freaking mind. So that turned out to be a woman who stayed in my world for over 2 years. She went from zero to over 3 million now in her business. And and
Wow.
she, when we think about all the one-to-one and all the experiences that she paid for me, over $100,000.
Wow.
So if I would have said, "Oh no, it's just one person.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and give my all to this one soul." That would have been 100 million. I mean, $100, 100,000 less out of my business, right? In my business, but it
Mhm.
also may have not been $3 million in hers.
Wow. I'm speechless because I'm like getting teary-eyed. It is just, yeah. It is so easy to look at that and go 400 people joined the masterclass. It was this big thing. You were barely selling it. And it was like, and then you picked up a phone and you said, this must be meant for you and only you. And you were so freaking right $3 million later.
Yeah, exactly. And she and I are still very, very, very close. And she tells that story herself. She tells that
Yeah.
story herself. So what about it? Stop looking. If you're looking at metrics and you're like, oh, I'm stuck on the TikTok 200 view jail, or I've only had, 3 people watching, or only 2 people opened my email, and just say, oh, thank God, thank universe, thank God, thank divine that 3 people opened this. Oh my God, how did their lives change? Like, how impactful was this? I wrote this for them. That
Mm-hmm.
energy, there's going to be 3 million people watching soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's because you picked up the phone and decided that thought process that created that 3 million.
Yep.
That's the difference. Is like, oh, little results before have created. Like, if I don't get a lot of views and I don't get a lot of results, I know that that's the way. Then that's what happens every time. It's like you in that position could have said the exact same thing, and it's because you switched that. Because easily you could have just said like, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed, like nobody joined, here's your money back. Wow. And $3 million, and who, what else? Like, she's gonna go on to create so much, and so are you, because of that story. That story is probably what is bringing people into your masterminds and programs. And it's just, wow, it's crazy. It's like tidal waves. It's just waves, and it's like a butterfly effect. It's
Exactly.
huge. I love that story. I'm gonna keep that with me in my pocket forever. So thank you for sharing. And my next question is, what do you know about self-leadership now that you didn't back when you first began, or maybe some of the darkest seasons?
Self leadership it's all about power, right? It's all about you having your own, I like to call it like spiritual power, because it's not just personal power, it's also the power to remember that you are the divine, like you are divinity in your body. And when you are leading from the standpoint of I'm divinity in the body, you are divinity in the body, everyone is divinity in body, and you see power on power, then you can't help but lead in a powerful way. You're never looking down at someone. You're never feeling like, I don't want to say feeling sorry, like as far as like you don't have compassion for them, you do, but you're never like looking down on someone to be like, oh, I feel so sorry for you, let me try to reduce my prices, or let me try to do all of these things because I feel like you can't rise up.
Mm-hmm.
Right, everything that you're doing is from a power meets power standpoint, even if it's an $11 thing, a free thing, $11,000 thing, $100,000 thing, it doesn't matter. And so what I didn't know back then was that my power came from within me, And at the time, I was looking outside of me for power. And so that meant looking to other people. Oh, well, it didn't matter that I had already had 20 plus years of experience when I came into this energy. That didn't matter. I was looking at all of these young ladies who age doesn't matter, but it just meant that they were like 23-year-olds that had just gotten out of college and they were making $100,000 months. Or at the time, it was like $10,000 months and $40,000 months. And I was like, they must know something I don't know. And so I was like, well, let me look at them and what are they doing? And I started to just adjust myself and, oh, this person made this much money or this person has done this in their business. So I must not know anything. And then every time I go and I'm like, oh, I knew all that already. Like what's going, and I just kept giving my power away and kept giving my power away. And so to be a really big leader, a steward, which everyone watching this, you are powerful. You get to sell the crap out of everything, sales is service. It is devotion. Like you are the most amazing people that you're watching this because you are so good at what you do. You have to remember that, and no one else can mirror that back to you until you become the mirror, right? Until you become the person that believes it so much that they can't help but say she's the most amazing thing in the world. So if you keep giving your power away to your coach or your mentor or to this program or that program or to anything outside of you and forget that you are the power, like I told that girl, you are the power, you don't seek power outside of you, then you will not be the leader that you were meant to be, because people will look for someone that it has such certainty, that has such belief in themselves and has such belief in their product or the service or whatever that they're sharing. That's what people are missing. They don't have that certainty. They don't have that knowing. And so when you display that, then they're like, I need to work with that person. I need to be in her world. I need to do this. And so, in order to be the leader that you've been placed on this earth to do, you've got to decide you are, and you've got to walk like that even before you believe it. And so, I did this. It's called the certainty activation, and it's the frequency that brings you like the money, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I taught people how to like bring certainty in their body, because if your body believes that you're certain, your mind doesn't even need to, it'll catch up. So if you've programmed and patterned certainty into your body and you start presenting that, your voice sounds like that, all of that stuff, your brain will catch up. It will catch up. And so a lot of people are trying to believe it before they, believe it first instead of owning it in their body. When you just own it in your body first, then everybody listens. So if you own that you're the leader, own that you know what you're talking about. That's why, some people are selling stuff and you buy it and then you're like, wow, that wasn't that great. Well, it's because they were certain, and you weren't really listening to what she was really saying. You probably wouldn't have bought it. But she was so certain you bought it. So the thing you get to learn is like, oh, what was she doing when she sold that to me? How is she doing that? And that's what you need, not to copy. Okay. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer to leadership. Starts with your certainty, start with you being the leader and owning that you are the leader, so that people can mirror back that they want to be a part of your experience because they feel that leadership in you. But if you don't own it and embody it first, they won't feel it. And that's
Yeah.
something that I didn't.
Yeah, that's huge. I think like that's what I don't like the answers aren't long-winded because I love the way that you articulate the concepts that are out there. Like, be do have. Another thing we talked about is, oh, your impact even with 200 views. You see that, you see content, you see business coaches, other people talking about that too, but it's that articulation and context you're giving it. It goes so deep. So I love that so much. And I feel like we kind of touched on this in so many different points, but my favorite question to end with is this question, and see if there's anything else you want to add to it. But what would you tell a woman who maybe potentially feels like this is the darkest season she's going through and she's not fully sure if she's going to come out on the other side? What would you tell her?
Well, first, of course you're coming on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Because first of all, there's a version of you in what I call the quantum suit that's already on the other side. So all you have to do is choose to be that person, but I wouldn't tell her that right now.
Yeah.
So the
I know.
first
I'm like,
thing,
yeah, I get what you mean. Like that's what I would think now.
right? So the first thing I would say is that first, what we get to do is come back into our body, right? And so when I was in the midst of bankruptcy and like worrying about where the next thing was going to come from, worrying about like what when I was going to be able to pay my bills and things like that, I had to take a deep breath and I had to let myself feel what was coming up, right? Am I any good at this? Like, why is everybody winning and I'm not? Like, I had to let all of that out. And that's one of the biggest pieces of the Align Soul Alchemy process. It's like it starts with awareness and then we go into acknowledgement. So, acknowledgement is like the mean girl piece. And the mean girl piece is like being mean to yourself or just being honest with yourself about like with no judgment, like, oh my goodness, like I think I'm a failure. I don't think I'm good at this. I don't think this is ever going to end. Because once you get it out, like this is what I want her to know. Once you get it out and you actually say it, then you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe I'm even thinking that or saying that, right? But you get to love yourself along the way. You get to love yourself, like even if you thought that, you get to like love the version of you that believe that, and then you get to look at that version of you and say, yes, we're gonna make it, because I wouldn't even be thinking I wouldn't make it if I wasn't the one who already made it. And so I want you to know that there is no made it or making it or it, like you've already done it. Like there's a version of you who's already out and looking on the other side and saying, come here, because you wouldn't have that desire to be out of it if there wasn't a version of you already out of it. You see what I'm saying? And so what I would tell her is that you can make it through because you've already done it. Now you just need to take the steps in this 3D and let the 3D world catch up with you, because the 5D version of you has already done it. And so then from there, when you know you've already done it, you know the end. This is the biggest thing. I've been saying this over and over again. If you haven't won, it's not over. Okay, so girl, you think you can't make the what, have you won? No, it's not over. If I would have given up when my clients are hitting 6-figure days and I was in bankruptcy, I wouldn't be here to have this conversation. If I gave up every single time things felt hard, I wouldn't have been the first black valedictorian. I wouldn't have gotten a full scholarship, academic scholarship. I wouldn't have be in the, in I wouldn't have worked for Deloitte and Touche. I wouldn't have worked for the Coca-Cola company. I wouldn't have worked for Victoria's Secret, because there's so many things that told me I can't do what I'm not supposed to be able to do what I'm doing, right? I wasn't supposed to be able to be hit the level that I'm supposed to hit. And if I let anything else tell me that I can't, then they won. And so what you have to remember is that if you haven't won, it is not over yet, which means that you just have another foot that you need to take another step and take another step and take another step. Because the more you know that and you keep saying, well, it's not over yet, there's something better out here. What is this teaching me? Or you get to say everything is working out for me. Even the shitty thing that's happening right now is working out for me. And so I can't see it yet, but I'm just gonna know it is. And then when you believe that, when you know that, then there's no freaking stopping you. And if you're watching this, you're doing that because your soul brought you here so you can hear the message. And remember, if I don't have the champion cup, then it's not over.
Wow. That's going to be the title. That's going to be the title. Oh my God. Wow. I love that so much. That was like a mic drop moment. I'm like, can we get Christine on a stage and starting off her speech that way? Because that was huge. That
Yeah.
was huge. I feel that so much. And it's like something that Courtney said earlier this week, like I knew this live series was going to do the same thing, where the stories were going to weave into each other because it's all the same thing. And we were talking about how in you have to go through every single challenge in order to come out on the other side and become the version of you that you were meant to be. And that's why it's not over. It's like if you look back, you had 100% success rate of every challenge, of any challenge. So what do you really, we're just playing like we're playing in La La Land if we think it's not going to work out. Like that's crazy. It's not delusional to think it's going to work out because you've had that 100% success rate.
Yeah. And you're the producer and the writer and the director, so you wrote the script. So what are you talking about, right? I've
Yeah.
been talking lately, and I know we're almost done, but I've been talking lately about the Matrix and like how we can like it's not even active anymore, but we're still plugged into it, right? And so all you need to do is just unplug. You created the game, you're writing the script. Like, do you want to, if you want to lose, okay, fine, write the script. But if you don't, like, why would you? Like, it's not delusional, even though Delulu is the Salulu, to know that it's not over. because you
Mhm.
haven't won yet. Right the end of the script, I win at everything.
Mhm.
And so if you haven't gotten to that point, girl, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. It was never about the timeline. You're on your own. You're on your own timeline. I
Yes.
love that so much. Okay, well, thank you so much, Christine. I feel like we could talk for hours, but I'm so glad you came on and shared your story because this is going to, and I've been saying this all week, like these are impacting me more than I thought they would impact me. It was for everyone, and it is for everyone, but it's just such a powerful conversation. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I just love this so much.
Yeah, no, I love it too. Okay, I'm good. I'm messaging you after to send me the title of your book or a link or something because I need that.
Yay. All right. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.